What's up everyone? In this video I'm going to be showing you how to use lists in Python. So lists are a super useful tool. They allow you to store data. You can store a lot of data basically under one name, which is, it's just so much more convenient and useful. To try and store so many data items in in different variables, it would just be super inconvenient and rather difficult to keep track of all the data too. So that's why lists just, they're crucial. They're absolutely necessary to understand to be a Python developer. So I'm going to get started here and just declare a list. So you can declare a list. So I'll just call this one X list. And then you declare these just by using square brackets. So I'm going to put in here, I'll put in some fruit. So let's do oranges, apples, bananas, and blueberries. And now to access this list, so for example, let's say that I want to output. The way to do this, to access this data inside the list, is to use the square brackets again. And now you're going to index it by a number. So lists, they always start with an index of 0. So oranges is index 0, apples is index 1, bananas is index 2, and blueberries is index 3. So if I punch in here index 0, this should output oranges to my terminal. So let me open up a terminal here and run this program. So Python 3 list.py, and that's going to print oranges to the terminal. Okay, so you can see this is pretty useful because rather than declaring a new variable for each one of these data, each one of these fruits, I can just use this one variable, or one name really, one list, X list, and store all of these fruit. And this can keep going too. These can be basically of infinite size. So it's a really useful tool to store data. So I'm actually going to rename this. Let me rename this to fruit and then rename it down here as well. And I'll just show you, like if I output fruit at the index 2, so 0, 1, 2 is bananas. So this should output bananas. Okay, so that's useful and that's pretty easy to understand. But let me show you where the power of this kind of comes in. So let's say that if I wanted to do print menu, and then we'll print, so 1 oranges, 2 apples, 3 is bananas, and 4 is blueberries. So now I would want to take the user's input. So let's see here. So let's do user input equals int input. So now the user gets to choose what kind of fruit they want, and then we'll output that. So let's print you chose and then their choice. So we can do this by using our fruit array at the index of what they chose, so user input, but then we want to do a -1. And the -1 here is crucial because we start with 1, right? In human terms, we usually start counting with 1. We go 1, 2, 3, 4. But in computer, with indexes, we like to start at 0. We always start at 0 for indexes. And there's really no way to change that. That's just how it is. So we start counting in the computer at 0, 1, 2, 3. So for example, if I selected number 1, I wanted oranges. Down here, we would see 1 minus 1, that's 0, so at index 0, and we know that index 0 is oranges. So let's go ahead and run this program. So it prints the menu, and let's say that I want apples. So I enter the 2, and it'll give me you chose apples. Because I entered 2, 2 minus 1 is index 1, and apples is our index 1. Alright, so at this point, we can actually make a little system out of this. So if we do a while loop, and let's do while user input does not equal 5, then we want to do this code here. So we need to actually declare user input before we get to this statement right here, or else it'll throw an error because this is undefined. And okay, so then we also need to add to our menu that 5 is exit. So if we run this right now, so Python 3 list.py, so I can just continuously select fruit, right? But then if I go to exit, if I press 5, it throws an error because this list index is out of range. So what's happening here when I enter 5 is that it's coming down here to our index and it's seeing 5 minus 1 is 4. Well, we don't have an index 4, right? So basically we're stepping out of bounds of our list, and that's throwing an error because it's like there's nothing there. There's nothing that exists for that index. So I've seen list index out of range probably 1,000 times. Like this error, it happens very, very often, at least to me. And what that means is that you're stepping out of the bounds of your array, or I'm sorry, of your list. So what you need to do to remedy this is to just do a simple if statement. So if user input is greater than or equal to 0 and user input is less than or equal to 4, we want to do this statement right here, this output. So in this case, let's say that I enter some outlandish thing like 25, right? It doesn't break the program. All that happens is we get 25 in user input, and then this if statement, 25 isn't greater, or it isn't between 0 and 4, basically. So we skip this output right here, and then we're just back to the start of the loop again. So now I can just run this however many times. I can choose however many fruit I want to choose. And then if I press 5 to exit, it'll break out of that loop and end the program. Alright, and now I want to show you one of the coolest features about lists in Python. So you can actually use different data types within the same list. If you're familiar with other programming languages, it's actually pretty uncommon. Usually you have to strictly type, as in declare your list of some data type, and then you can only use that data type within the list. Whereas in Python, Python's a little hippy dippy, and it lets you use, so here I have strings and here I have floats. And this is okay in Python. It doesn't have an issue with this. So in this case, I'm going to show the price as well. So I'm going to add, so I'm going to say the dollar and then add, so fruit at the index of 4 is going to give me this $1.29. So I'm going to say an orange is $1.29. I'm going to say an apple is fruit at the index of 5, which is $2.30. A banana at the index of 6, which is 54 cents. And a, oops, did that backwards. And the blueberries, which is fruit at the index of 7, and that is $3.99. So if I run this right now, it's going to give me an issue because right now these are strings and we need to have everything be a string within this output. So I'm going to go ahead and convert these floats to strings. So just do a quick typecast right here. And then we should be able to output everything all from one list, which is super, super cool. So there we go. And then if I run this program, I'll see that I have my fruit here. So oranges at $1.29, apples $2.30, bananas 54 cents, blueberries $3.99. And I was able to do that all with this one list, right? So if I go ahead and choose something, I can choose whatever, and it's going to continuously output this menu. And I was able to use both strings and floats within the same list. Alright, and the final thing I want to show you about lists is that you can actually add to lists pretty easily, which is another super cool thing with Python, is that it's really easy to add another piece of data onto this list. In some other programming languages, you'll have strict sizes. So you'll declare something and then it'll have a size and you can't go beyond that size, or at least not easily. Whereas in Python, so let's say, let me just show you what I mean. So let's say option 6 is add a new item. And if they choose a new item, so if the user input is 6, we'll print enter the new fruit. And then we'll take the user input. So let's call this fruit input equals input. And now we want to add this on, right? So we can do fruit.append fruit input. And then if we come down here, let's just say once we exit everything, we're going to print everything. So for I in range fruit.length. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not fruit.length. It's len fruit. We're going to print fruit at the index of I. So that's just going to print all of the contents of our fruit list. So let me run this and then do 6 to add a new item. And let's call the new one cherries. And then if I exit the loop, we'll see that we have, these are the contents of our list now. So we have oranges, apples, bananas, blueberries, and then at the bottom is cherries. As always, I want to take a second to say thank you. This is a really great video. It kind of encompasses a little bit of what we've been talking about up to this point. We have, of course, lists, we have loops, and we also have conditionals and logical operators all in this video. So a really, really great kind of overview of multiple concepts right here. So I do want to mention that I'll be adding the GitHub repo that I showed in this video to the video description, and I'll also link my Discord server. If you have questions, comments, or want to get in contact with me, it's a great resource to you. And once again, thanks for watching.